Hi everyone, this is Crystal and I'm back with week 6 in my 2020 Project Life album. You can see I already have my photos printed and I've placed them where I think I'll want them. This is how I stored them. I actually printed them before today, and so I just keep them in my album when I'm a little bit behind. I'm a couple weeks behind, but that was on purpose so that I had a little bit more time to organize my photos before I had to do the spread. I also have my Weekender kit. So this is the Citrus Twist March Life Crafted kit. The stamps are also in this brand new pocket that you get your kits in, which are pretty amazing. So this is the Weekender kit. I've also printed out the cut apart printable that you get as a subscriber, and then the bonus cards as well. I've printed those out on some heavy duty cardstock. So I have all of the bits and pieces. This is the first project I'm doing with this kit, so I'm super excited to dig in and use some of these really beautiful things. It's very bright and colorful, which is going to be a nice contrast to my very dull winter photos. So yeah, that's all I have planned so far. I'm just going to dive in and see how it goes.
So I'm going to start by getting everything out that's in the kit, and I'm just taking a look at what's there, refreshing my memory, and then I'm going to start going through the 3x4 cards. So I don't have a lot of space on this spread for cards. I have that one spot where I have a smaller photo, and then at the top I have a 3x4 photo that is going to go into a 4x6 pocket. So I'm planning just to use a 3x4 card and then back those on another 4x6 card to add to the pocket. And then of course there's my title card. So I really just needed those 3 cards, and I found ones that I liked for those spots. And I went ahead and pulled out all of the photos from the pocket so that I could actually work on them. And then I'm going to start going through the die cut ephemera. So this is what I do basically every time I'm working with one of the Citrus Twist kits. I go through the ephemera and just kind of plunk down anything I think might work in the places where I think it might go. And I end up with a lot more on my page than I will end up actually using. But this just kind of narrows down the options and gives me a starting point for each card as I work through the spread. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through this entire kit. And there was a lot here that could have worked. What I did discover, however, is that this spread doesn't actually have any photos from the weekend on it, and this is the Weekender kit. So a lot of it was weekend themed, and I didn't have any weekend photos because we actually left for Cancun this Saturday morning. So yeah, I didn't have anything that was related to the weekend, but this kit still worked. It still worked great. I actually really like how the spread turns out, and I'll get to use all of those weekend bits in the next week when I focus on our trip to Cancun. So it all works out in the end. I just realized as I was working through this that I maybe didn't plan that quite as well as I could have. So going through the chipboard now, I pulled out 3 pieces that I think I want to use. I'll actually end up forgetting about them until I've already designed myself out of using one of them, but that's okay. I do end up using the other 2. And now I'm just looking at the cut apart sheet to see if there's anything on here that I want to use. I know that I'm going to need some labels for this spread, so I start with that. I use one of the circle labels. I just used 1 1/4 inch punch to punch that from the cut apart sheet, and then I'm going to use one of these labels that comes in the kit as well. This larger one is going to go on my bottom left photo. And labels are something I use a lot in my spreads. I find that it's a really great way to add just a little bit of extra journaling to places where there wouldn't otherwise be room for journaling. So it gives me a spot to add just a couple lines about a lot of the photos that wouldn't otherwise get journaled about. So that's why I use so many labels. That's why I love labels. I have a stash of Citrus Twist Kit labels that I turn to all the time for all kinds of projects. They're just very versatile. So when I'm finished with this spread, I'll end up just cutting apart everything and then storing it all together with the ephemera so that I can use it all and don't have to go through the process of cutting it as I need it. So right now that's what I'm doing because I didn't cut these out beforehand. I'm just cutting them as I think I'll need them. So going through and finding labels that work for each spot. And I'm also using my hole punch to cut out the little circular corners from some of the labels. That's the easiest way I've found to get those little rounded corners cut out. Of course, you don't have to do that. You can just trim them with your scissors, or you can just cut them off straight and ignore that they're circular. Either way works, but any normal hole punch, just, the regular office supply hole punch will work to cut out those corners. Okay, so I've gone through most of the supplies. I am ready to start working on my cards. I'm going to start with my title card. I'm using the alphas that came in this kit. They are beautiful, gold, shiny, puffy alphas, and I love them. I knew I wanted to use them, so I'm just going to spell out week 6, and I'm going to add that to the card just above the pre-printed label that's on the card. So I'm going to end up stamping my dates on that little label piece, and I'm also adding one of the die cuts that says, "Let's have some fun," which I thought would be a nice addition to this card. And then I'm going to add my dates with a date stamp. I think that's what I'm grabbing. Yep. So I grabbed my regular date stamp. I was checking to make sure that it would, that the label on the card would be wide enough to fit the full 2 sets of dates for this week, and it was, so that worked out great. And then there was even enough space in the center to add one of these tiny little puffy hearts, so I'm going to add that. I thought about adding a couple more to this card, so I'm going to try out a couple other puffy hearts on that little die cut that I have, but I end up not really liking it. It looks a little too busy to me. It looks just a little bit too much. So I end up taking those off, and I'll end up sprinkling those hearts around the spread in other places instead. So the next one that I'm going to work on is this photo, this selfie that I took after getting my hair done. This was the one that I knew how I wanted it to look, so I'm going to start with it. So I have that little die cut that says currently, and I've added it to the top of my photo, kind of offset a little bit. And then I am spelling out new hair with those same alpha stickers. So just added new directly to the photo, and then I'm using my Thickers alignment tool to make sure that hair fits. I got a little bit nervous after adding the word new that the word hair wasn't going to fit without covering up my face. So that's why I got out my alignment tool, but it fit just fine. Everything worked out. And there was a little blank square at the end of that currently tag, so I added another one of those puffy hearts to fill in that spot, and then I can move on to the next card. So for this one, my photo is going to cover up most of the card, but you'll still be able to read today at the top. And I'm adding a little flag that says, "Oh yeah," and then another die cut that says daily stuff, and a little label for me to write just a couple lines of journaling. This is a photo of my desk. It's my cup of coffee and my granola bar and my laptop. And this is just kind of what it looks like every day when I sit down to edit videos or apply to jobs or whatever the case may be. It really is just daily stuff. I think this morning I was editing photos, so that's what I wrote on the little label. And then I'll end up doing pretty much the exact same thing to this photo. So just taking another one of those little die cuts that says good morning and another label, and just writing that Jesse was actually traveling this week, and this was a photo he took of his tea at the hotel he was staying in for his work event. And you may have seen I got a little crazy with the adhesive and got a little bit too much on there, and I just use an eraser to kind of rub that off when that happens. I know they do make tools for removing adhesive, like little adhesive remover erasers, but my regular eraser works just fine, so I haven't bothered to pick one of those up. It may work better. I don't know. Maybe I should try it, but this works just fine for now. So again, just adding a couple lines to that circle label I added to the other photo, and also I'm going to add a puffy heart to that one just to give that a little something extra. And then I can move on to this bottom photo, and that's where I realized that I totally forgot about that chipboard. But now that I've remembered, I can add the other 2 pieces to the spots where I had intended to add them. So I am just adding that little tag above this label and writing a couple lines about Jesse being in Portsmouth again this week, and that he was at a new, much fancier hotel where the event was being held this time. So he was pretty happy with where they were staying. And then again added another little heart to that one as well. So I'm going to work on the next little cluster at the top of this photo, which is a photo Jesse took on his run while he was in Portsmouth. He took this from his morning run, and I end up really loving this little cluster. For some reason, it just worked out so well. Really like how it looks. So I used one of the little tickets, and then I added another little die cut that said worth seeing, and a chipboard piece that said discover, and then another label so I can just write that this photo was taken by Jesse on his run. And then that's it for that one. So I just have this one pocket left to deal with, and I know that I have a somewhat longer story to tell on this one, and I had thought about taking it to my typewriter and actually typing it up, but I was honestly just feeling a little bit too lazy to do that, so I just decided to handwrite it. And to make sure that I write a little bit more neatly, I'm just adding a few lines with my pen, and I'm just actually using my Thickers alignment tool for this because, I mean, it's just a ruler like any other ruler. So just using it to create some lines, and I realized that my pen, my gel pen was not drying immediately on these cards, so I set it aside to let those lines dry before I smudge them all over the place trying to write in my journaling. So I'm going to add the little bits to the top of the photo next to it. It's just a little ticket and another chipboard piece before I go back and finish writing my journaling. So I'm writing about how this photo was taken while I was on a run with Jesse. Normally we don't run together because he is much faster and goes much further than I do, but he convinced me to go with him this day, and when that happens, he usually pushes me pretty hard, a lot harder than I would push myself, and I did. I ended up going much further than I normally do, and then ended up not being able to walk for the next 2 days because my legs were so sore. I could barely move. So that's what I am writing about there. And then that's going to be it for this spread. I do go back and add some gold staples off camera to basically all the places where I had the little puffy hearts, and then that's it. So there are lots of close-up photos coming up so you can see all the little details, and as always, all the products I've used will be linked in the description down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found some inspiration in this video, and I hope to see you all back here very soon.